I was robbed by idiots who were high at their house. This was 20 years ago. I delivered pizza on a football night and had made a lot in tips. Last call of the night I delivered a pizza and they claimed I was late. I don't remember what the time frame was, but if longer than XXX time from ordering, pizza was free. It wasn't late but they, about 12, insisted and had kind if a threatening posture, so I let them have the pizza. As I got to my car, they come out and tell me to hold up. I was naive enough to believe they were gonna tip me. Instead they threw me up against my car. Someone else went in another door and took all the money I had. While they were getting the money out, I distinctly remember someone holding a knife up to me. Then there is a blank in my memory but somehow I got in my car unharmed and I remember this girl standing behind my car like she thought she could stop me and I remember aiming for her. I didn't hit her but I was so angry I sure tried. They were easily caught by the police since they went back inside the house. The city bundled a bunch of charges against them for other crimes. They got time, a couple of years for the guy who held the throat to me and the guy who took my dollar. The others I honestly don't remember. I moved across country a few months later. I happened to be in town for the trial of the guy with the knife. I have checked out his FB account and he seems to have turned his life around from what I can tell and straightened up. I did get my dollar back but it took 2 years. Story 2. I had worked at a big pizza chain for almost a year at this point, so I was aware of a lot of the dangers of the job: robberies, drunken morons, naked people, etc. But this instance really made it sink in. A girl had been reported missing in our area under super suspicious circumstances. It was a big deal in a relatively small town where things like that don't happen super frequently. It was all over the news, billboards were being put up, the whole shebang. We had state cops, other county cops, and federal investigators all in town to help. A few weeks after the initial report, they announce an arrest. They had the guy dead to rights, no question that he was the one who did it. When I got to work that day someone asked me if I had seen the announcement. I hadn't yet, so I pulled up the news article on my phone. Holy! I know that name. I know that address. I know that face. A month or so prior, I had delivered to this guy. His apartment complex was a few blocks down the road. To add to the creep factor, this dude lived in a complex with several buildings where each one had a locked door to get into the building. It's full of young kids that are almost always drunk and ignorant when they order, and I'd had issues there before. Due to that, I made a point to always have customers come and meet me at the main door as opposed to being buzzed in and going to their unit door. Usually it wasn't a huge deal, but this dude really tried to press the issue and had several excuses to why he couldn't come down and I needed to come up. Each one was met with, "Company policy doesn't allow me to do that," until he finally caved and came down. He was less than enthused, but paid for his pizza and I went about my way. As a female, and given that this happened within a few weeks of him kidnapping and killing the other girl, I am so immensely grateful for all the drunken morons that caused me to stop going inside of the buildings at this complex. Open menu. Expand search. Create post. Open inbox. 2. User avatar. Expand user menu. r/nosleep icon. Go to nosleep. r/nosleep. 7. cr_Jones. Join. My worst pizza delivery. I honestly do not know how to handle the events that have transpired over the past several months. I wake up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night and look out into the darkness of my room afraid of something that isn't even there. I don't know if I even believe everything that's happened to me. There is only one thing that I am completely sure of, however, real or not, I am scared. First, I must go back to the beginning of the year where I was working as a pizza delivery boy for some local pizza shop near where I live. The money was awful, of course, but I was just trying to make a few bucks before college started back up again in the spring. On weekends the pizza shop closes at midnight, with all deliveries stopping at 11:30 so the drivers can help clean up the shop. One Saturday night a call came in around 11:45 and asked for a delivery. My boss was about to say that we don't deliver after 11:30, but the person ordered 8 large pizzas and wanted someone to drop them off at their house, which was located far away from the shop. My boss, being the cheapskate that he is, demanded the order to be made and delivered because 8 large pizzas was a lot of money inside his pocket. Unfortunately for me, my boss decided that I would be the one to deliver. I typed the address into my phone and saw that it was an almost 30-minute drive just to get to this person's house. Since cooking 8 large pizzas takes a while to make, I was probably going to arrive at this person's house around 1 in the morning. I was a little annoyed that I had to stay so late, but I tried to look on the bright side of things and told myself that I was probably going to receive a generous tip given the lateness of the hour, the amount of pizzas that were ordered, and the distance from the shop. After about 35 minutes the pizzas were finally done, so I put them in my car and set off toward the address. I arrived around 1 o'clock just like I predicted and drove my car up this steep driveway to an impressively big house. I sat in my car for a while and took in everything around me before getting out. Even though the house looked very nice, the front yard was in horrible condition. We don't get any snow from where I'm from, so the grass continues growing all year round, and this grass looked like it hadn't been cut for several months. That was the first thing that I noticed. The second thing was the fact that this gigantic house was located out in the middle of nowhere up on this hill, and from where I was sitting in my car it looked like nobody was home. There were no cars in the driveway and the lights in the house were not on, yet this house ordered 8 large pizzas to be delivered. I was hesitant about getting out of my car, but I finally did and walked up to the front door in hopes that this would all be over soon. As I was walking up the sidewalk to the door, I noticed that the grass around me was even higher than I originally thought. It must have been neglected for some time because it was well past my knees and covered this person's entire yard. That takes some time to do. I was about to ring the doorbell when I saw a piece of paper taped to the door. "Dear Pizza Boy, please come in. Do not ring the doorbell. Thank you." That was strike 3 for me. I had a bad feeling about this house ever since I pulled in, but now I was certain that something fishy was going on. This definitely felt like some kind of trap to me, and even though I don't live in a bad neighborhood, I still didn't want to be abducted by someone. I disobeyed what the note said and rang the doorbell anyway. I waited a few minutes, but no one answered. I knocked on the door, then placed my ear closer to the wood to try and listen for any noises coming from inside the house. Hearing nothing, I just stood there on this person's porch in the middle of the night, with 8 pizzas, and no idea what to do next. I wanted to get back in my car and just tell my boss that no one was at the house, but that would really piss him off if I came back with 8 large pizzas and no money, even though it wouldn't be my fault. I stood there a little while longer, not moving, until I finally reached up for the handle to go inside, but then I remembered something. A couple of weeks earlier a young kid named Billy Holmes was abducted in broad daylight not even 3 miles from where this house was. Like I said before, I don't live in a bad neighborhood, so when Billy got kidnapped it was pretty big news in our town because we are not used to such events. I took my hand away from the handle, convincing myself that delivering these pizzas wasn't worth my life. I turned around and was about to walk back to my car when I heard someone say something from inside the house. "Come in," someone shouted. The voice definitely came from a woman, but she sounded far away, like she was on the opposite side of the house or something. I went back to the door and knocked again. "Come in please. I'm upstairs," the woman's voice yelled. I eased up a little bit when I heard the voice, but I was still skeptical about the whole thing. The woman said, "I'm upstairs," implying that she was the only one there, which would be weird considering she ordered 8 pizzas. I told myself that I was just being paranoid, but there was a very small nagging feeling in the back of mind that I immediately suppressed. I slowly opened the door, making sure that the canister of pepper spray around my keychain was within reach. The inside of the house was very similar to the condition of the yard, unkempt. There were piles of garbage everywhere and most of the house just looked like it hadn't been cleaned in a long time. It was weird that a person with such a nice house would treat it so poorly. I kept the front door open just in case I needed to make a quick escape, and then set the pizzas down on a table that was a few feet in front of me. There was a pile of mail stacked up in the center of table that was spilling over the edge onto the floor. Most of the lights in the house were off except for the one in the room I